everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and for today's video, we will talk about the 10 ways to teach grammar effectively. Well, the purpose for teaching grammar is not simply for you to be confident about the correcting mistakes in children's work, nor is it to pass on the tricks and techniques to be replicated in a mechanistic way, and this does not make children writers or lead to a good writing. Teaching grammar effectively is about enabling the students to control grammar to express increasingly complex ideas, and when grammar is taught well, it can be make a significant difference to the students' literacy development. Okay, number 1, build up your own subject knowledge. To teach grammar, you need to explicit as well as implicit knowledge, and to be more confident about using the correct terms and explaining this. Don't just learn the next term that you are teaching, and it is important to be able to relate new learning to other features in the text as a whole. Number 2, give talk a high priority in your classroom. Children need to be able to select from a wardrobe of voices that includes standard English. Teachers' priority are of course the students, and thus we teachers must teach those standard English for them. Another is remember the purpose of teaching grammar. Grammar is not simply the naming of parts of speech or for teaching the rules of English. It is somehow complex, and it has a lot of rules to be followed, and of course it needs to be strongly embedded in the classroom talk, also like reading and writing. Number 4, teach grammar in context. By introducing children to grammatical features and language in context, we will be helping them to internalize these principles, and we should try not to go for the ready-made solution by using a worksheet from a book, and it will make very little differences to the children's use of language and will be meaningless for those learners who are not yet able to think in abstract ways. Number 5 is read aloud and discuss how authors use grammar. Children who read extensively and or read will have a toolbox of structures, patterns, and rhythms to draw on. Allow the students to read books, either printed or not. Let them observe how the author used the grammar in a proper way, and of course the rules. Number 6 is be systematic. Make sure you know what the class you are working with have already learned and what they need to learn now. Link the new learning with their prior knowledge, and make sure that before we proceed to the next lesson of grammar, students should know and learn something from it. Make an exercise or assessment to evaluate the children's learning. Number 7 is make learning grammar fun. Teaching grammar can involve investigations, problem solving, and language. Play is a part of developing children's awareness of an interest in how language works. Do not just talk, but rather make it more fun in the class to have humor and of course energy. And by that strategy, the students would have a big interest to learn new about grammars. Next is encourage your students to learn a new word every day. A comprehensive vocabulary can go a long way in developing a strong understanding of grammar and mechanics. Of course, encouraging your students to learn a new word every day will likely require them to read more, and daily reading will give them greater exposure to the new words and help them get familiar with the various elements of grammar. Number 9, set up writing workshops between students. The peer review is another effective way to teach grammar, and reviewing each other's work can help students catch and understand the mistakes and make corrections. Getting students to understand things from another perspective and identify for errors is a great practice, and working with the classmates can be a lot less intimidating than working directly with the instructor or the professor for some students. And last is cover the topics your students care about most. You can teach nearly every aspect of English composition with examples and topics that are relevant to your students' interests. And of course, writing guide with handbook draws on a student's life experiences and their participation in rhetorical communities like social media and personal interaction. The book is full of examples and that are relatable and relevant to today's students. Now let's proceed to the 10 examples of grammar errors, the common grammar errors. Number 1 is the unnecessary commas. While commas are important for clarity and give the reader a chance to pause in a sentence, it's possible to use the commas when you don't need them. These unnecessary commas can be confusing to read and they make writing look less professional. And before you use a comma, think about why you're using it and you aren't sure it's needed. Do a bold check by reviewing comma rules. Example: she had a stomach ache, comma, because she ate too much of ice cream. Well, the correct of this is she had a stomach ache because she ate too much of ice cream. Yes. Number 2 is ending a sentence with a preposition. Another common grammar mistake is ending a sentence with a preposition. A preposition, by its nature, it indicates that another word will follow it, and in casual conversation, this type of error is no big deal, but you should avoid this mistake in your writing. Like for example, what reason did he come here for? The correct for this is for what reason did he come here? Another is no clear antecedent. An antecedent is a word that comes before a pronoun and helps the reader understand what the pronoun means. Generally, you can clear up this confusion by rearranging the wording. For example, the dad found the boy, comma, and he was happy. The correct for this is the dad was happy when he found the boy. Another is missing comma in a compound sentence. A compound sentence expresses two complete and related ideas, and it is usually includes a conjunction to connect these two parts. There should be a comma before the conjunction to indicate the two ideas are related, and if that's missing, it's a mistake reader will notice. For example, Jim went to the store and Ella went with him. The correct for this is Jim went to the store, comma, and Ella went with him. 5 is the sentence fragments. It is also common grammar mistakes wherein a sentence needs to have a subject and a verb. A fragment often happens after another related idea has been expressed. Like for example, Sharon stayed home from school the other day because she was sick. The correct for this is Sharon stayed home from school the other day because she was sick. Number 6 is misplaced modifiers. To clearly communicate your ideas, you should place a modifier directly next to the word it is supposed to modify. The modifier should clearly refer to a specific word in the sentence. Misplaced modifier can create confusion and ambiguity. For example, at 8 years old, my father gave me a pony for Christmas. The correct for this is when I was 8 years old, my father gave me a pony for Christmas. Number 7 is mixing up adverbs and adjectives. If you mix up adverbs and adjectives, this can be embarrassing grammar mistakes. Of course, this is the kind of error that can annoy a teacher or make the difference between a great grade on an essay and getting marked down. This happens most often with words that end in ly. For example, Susan gave me a real nice bouquet of flowers. The correct for this is Susan gave me a really nice bouquet of flowers. Number 8. Lack of subject and verb agreement. Confusion over subject-verb agreement can be source of many grammatical errors. This is one of the most common. When speaking or writing in the present tense, a sentence must have the subjects and verbs that agree in the number, and if the subject is singular, the verb must also be a singular, and if the subject is plural, the verb must be a plural as well. Like for example, this recipe is good for beginning chefs. The correct for this is these recipes are good for beginning chefs. And number 9 is ending a sentence in a preposition. Another common mistake is ending a sentence with a preposition. And a preposition, by its nature, it indicates that another word will follow it. And in casual conversation, this type of error is no big deal, but you should avoid this mistake in your writing. Like for example, what reason did he come here for? The proper for this is, for what reason did he come here? And last is, confusion between fewer and less. Many people mix up fewer and less, and if you are talking about the amount of something, you need to decide whether that item is all one thing or a group of many things. If it's a group of many smaller things, you should use fewer, and if it's one thing, you should use less. Like for example, the store was almost out of food. There were less cans on the shelves than there were yesterday. The proper for this is, the store was almost out of dog food and there were fewer cans on the shelves than there were yesterday. That's all for today's video, and see you soon for my next vlog.